financial interest in discussion of presentations. Ocular surface squamous neoplasia is a spectrum of conjunctival and corneal epithelial neoplasia, manifesting it as dysplasia, carcinoma situ, and squamous cell carcinoma. It is mainly due to altered limbal microenvironment due to infection, injury, and disease. It is the third most common ocular tumor after retinoblastoma and melanoma. Clinically presents as slow-growing tumor. Dysplasia and AIOC have strong malignant potential. Early detections and treatment decrease the incidence of squamous cell carcinoma. Keeping this in view, histopathologically proven cases of OSSM were studied retrospectively to evaluate the clinical profile and outcome. 24 patients with histopathologically proven OSSM during the period of May 2010 to April 2012 were included in our study, along with a complete medical, surgical history and ocular examinations including location, extent, and clinical appearance of the lesions was done. The lesions were surgically excised, keeping a safe margin of 2 to 3 millimeters. Cryotherapy was applied to the resected conjunctival margin and limbus. In case of scleral involvement, partial laminar sclerotomy was done and the scleral blade was treated with absolute alcohol. Surgical reconstructions, if required, was done with conjunctival autograft. After initial epithelial healing, regular examination was done every 2 months for 1 year and annually thereafter. Mean period of follow-up was 20.8 months. Mean duration of symptoms was 7.79 months. All patients had unilateral tumors with equal involvement of right and left. Interpalpebral involvement was seen in all cases. Temporal quadrant was most commonly affected. The most common age affected is 51 to 60 years, accounting for 83.30% of cases, and the mean age was 54.91 years. Coming to the sex distribution, male and females are equally affected in our cities. All belong to 51, most of them belong to 51 to 60 years of age. Coming to morphology, 50% of the lesions were confined to the conjunctiva and the rest involve the cornea, and the most of the lesions are leukoplakic followed by papillomatous. In our series, invasive varieties were most common, accounting for 75% of cases, and we did not find any dysplasia in our series. The associated systemic factors mostly involved is xeroderma pigmentosa in 1 case and AIDS in 2 cases. And the recurrence was seen in 2 cases, out of which 1 case was xeroderma pigmentosa and another was in AIDS. This is the complete clinical profile of OSSM documented in the regulated form in our studies. This is the case of OSSM with nasal involvement, nasal conjunctiva involved. The same case undergoing surgery. This is the case associated with xeroderma pigmentosa. Dysplasia, CIL, invasive squamous cell carcinoma of conjunctiva are often very similar in development. Invasion pathology can only distinguish benign from malignant lesion, but it cannot determine the degree of invasion. Any squamous lesions of ocular surface should be treated as a possible cause for invasive squamous cell carcinoma with potential of malignancy. The chance of malignant conversion increases with pedosphenic factors like xeroderma pigmentosa and AIDS. Complete surgical excisions with tumor-free margin is the best surgical option for the treatment of OSSM. Cryotherapy decreases the chance of recurrence. Unlike other studies where male preponderance was seen, we found equal involvement in male and females. Older age group in the age of 51 to 60 years were found to be commonly affected in our series, which is consistent with the method. Leukoplakic lesion was the commonest presentation, followed by papillomatous lesions, whereas other studies found it to be gelatinous type. Cow et al. Found invasive OSSM in 11%, AIL in 52%, and dysplasia in 33%, whereas our study found invasive in 75% and AIL in 25%. Recurrence following surgery was common in invasive squamous cell carcinoma. Recurrence was quite low as compared to Kim et al. In our series is 8.3, whereas in Kim et al. 36.8%. It might be due to meticulous surgical excision with cryotherapy. Further, again, another important factor is limited period of follow-up in our series might have played major role. Tian et al. Found 50% of the patients to be HIV seropositive in dysplasia and 86.6% in invasive squamous cell carcinoma. Pradeep et al. Found 26% of OSSM found to be HIV positive. Our study found it to be 8.33%, only 2 cases. Association of xeroderma pigmentosa further was found to be 4.16% in our study. Coming to the conclusion, conjunctival dysplasia is a rare clinical entity among OSSM group. Early diagnosis, histopathological correlation, meticulous surgery, and regular follow-up can give excellent results. Recurrence, if at all, can be treated with resurgery and topical symptoms. These are 3 references.
Thank you, Dr. Thakur. Now call upon Dr. Vipin Chowdhury to present his paper on faster and cost-effective ways for conjunctival autograft fixation and keratin surgery.
Good morning, everybody. Respected chairpersons and colleagues. My topic for presentation is faster and cost-effective ways for conjunctival autograft fixation and keratin surgery and their comparative data. There are various ways to prevent lesion recurrence, and we all know that the current standard for treatment of medium to large lesion is a system with conjunctival autograft. The graft can be fixated either by suture or by fusing glue. The drawbacks of suture fixation are more surgical than complications include limitation with discomfort and infection and sometimes surgery turning over. Plasma fibrin glue also considered safe, but it also has some demerits like it is not cost effective and not readily available in many centers, and has the potential risk of anaphylaxis with potential transmission. We also strongly believe that asymmetric fibrin glue is prepared from elements of human blood. Natural blood coagulum formed after collision with serum can be used as a glue. I am also from the same institute where Dr. Thakur also are there. But what happened? There is a fear that this graft may be dislodged. In our series of initial 50 cases, in my hand, 2 cases had lost graft. And I felt that it may be due to inadequate stabilization of the graft. So we thought to stabilize the graft further. In these cases, I used autoblood as the glue material and then stabilized by 2 techniques. And the purpose of the study was to assess the role of autoblood used for graft fixation in the surgery, which was further stabilized by either subconjunctival tapping procedure, henceforth called STCAG, or by electroporation of the graft stage, henceforth called EFCAG, and compare their outcomes in relation to surgical time, complications, and hospital pressure. It was a prospective comparative interventional case study, where 112 cases of primary medium to large metal delivery are included, out of which 69 cases underwent STCAG and 43 cases underwent EFCAG in our institute from May 2011 to January 2013 by the Mimosa. Preoperatively, all the patients have anterior segment photography. Patients with other anterior and posterior segment abnormalities, exceptional cataract, were excluded from the study. This is a short video clip of my STCAG procedure. 1.5 mm oversized graft was taken from superior lobar conjunctiva, and the prepared graft was fixated in the recipient area using patient's own blood, and the graft age was undermined in the subconjunctival space of the recipient area, and the eye was flat for overnight. The orientation, deeper orientation was maintained, and this is the first postoperative photograph. In EFCAG procedure, the graft was taken and then it was transferred to the recipient area, and then the graft post edges were fixated by slow polarization at 5 points. In all the cases, the gluing material is autoblood. You will need to use any pottery in the bed or just what it will wash out the blood which is collected in the recipient area. All cases have postoperative topical steroids in tapering dosage along with antibiotics and butyric eye drops. Mean age of the patients range from 18 to 60, mean of the patients 45.2 years, ranging from 48 to 64 years. And mean surgical time was 8.6 minutes in STCAG group, and that was 8.3 minutes in EFCAG group. 11 eyes had subducted hemorrhage in STCAG, but none in EFCAG. No graft was dislodged in the immediate postoperative period in both groups. With 2 eyes in STCAG, the graft was procured which immediate cesarean, and no graft was procured in EFCAG group. No graft was recessed in the STCAG group, but 2 grafts were recessed in EFCAG group, and the graft was made immediate. Follow-up range from 4 to 21 months in the STCAG group, and in that time there were 3 cases at the time. In EFCAG group, the follow-up range from 3 to 14 months, and no evidence seen in that follow-up time. This is the slit lamp photograph of STCC groups in different photography. And this is the same slit lamp photograph of each group in different photography. Various studies state that the essential factor for successful conical photography is obtaining a keen, generous craft and adequate stabilization of the craft. And in our study, in both the methods, the craft were quite stabilized. PTV data first published in I about the relation of conical photograph intelligent survey, and they also had excellent outcome. So, in conclusion, photograph used for graph fixation intelligence surgery, which was further strengthened by either supplemental tapping procedure or by electrocorporation of the graph stage, have excellent outcomes. Such surgery is less time consuming compared to graph secure features. Both the procedures avoid suture-related problems and the quality improves, as well as any adverse reactions related to the flow. The purpose of the study was that only primary medium to large metastatic were handled, and the study was not randomized. And maximum follow-up was only 14 months in the stage group. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Chaudhary. The next paper will be presented by Dr. Ashwin, Uses of Mammography in Dry Eye Evaluation and Management. Your AIOC number, please.
Good morning everyone, I am Dr. Luta Parekh from Narayan Tirthalaya. I am presenting uses of mammography in dry eye evaluation and its management. There is no financial disclosure. The mammogram glands or tarsal glands are special kind of sebaceous glands at the rim of the eyelids inside the tarsal gland. Approximately 50 glands over the upper eyelid and 25 glands lower eyelids. So what is the mammogram gland dysfunction? It's a chronic diffuse abnormality of the mammogram glands, commonly characterized by terminal duct obstruction and of qualitative or quantitative changes in the glandular secretion. It is a major cause of dry eye. It may result in alteration of the tear film, symptoms of eye irritation, clinically apparent inflammation and ocular surface disease. 25% of patients who visit ophthalmic clinic report symptoms of dry eye. What are the existing methods? The slit lamp evaluation of orifices of mammogram glands, their secretion, mammometry courtesy eye tube, and mammograph. So what is mammography? It's a technique to visualize the morphology of mammogram glands in vivo. There are two techniques, contact and non-contact. Contact mammography is a traditional technique, direct application of a light probe to the skin for immersion and transillumination of the eyelid, followed by imaging with a specialized camera. Disadvantages: requires operator expertise. Eyelids are not always amenable to manipulation with the light probe and it's time consuming. There is patient discomfort. Non-contact mammography, it provides non-contact observation of the structure of the mammalian gland. It uses a slit lamp biomicroscope with the infrared filter. Advantages: faster, more patient-friendly and easier to use than contact technique. To view, it provides a greater surface view area of the everted eyelid. So on the basis of this knowledge, we propose to assess the use of mammography to study mammogram gland architecture in normal persons and in mammogram gland dysfunction, and to evaluate usefulness in management of evaporative dry eye. Method is a case control study, 100 eyes, 50 systemically healthy patients diagnosed with mammogram gland dysfunction and 50 normal eyes. Subjects were at first evaluated using ocular surface disease index as follows. Instruments and methods used for detection of mammogram gland dysfunction: the mammographer, the slit lamp evaluation, tear breakup time, and the Schreiber test. The high-resolution color camera of Oculus Keratograph 5M with infrared diode was used as a mammographer. It's non-contact and it's non-invasive. Mammogram gland dysfunction was graded on the basis of gland dropouts, Here, grading of each island was done and it is graded between 0 to 3. Grade 0, it signifies there is no loss of memoban glands. Grade 1, memoban gland dropouts is less than 1/3 of area. Grade 2, between 1/3 to 2/3, and grade 3, between more than 2/3. As here we can see, there is no loss of memoban gland, suggesting of grade 0. And here, there is a loss of more than 2/3 of memoban gland, which is suggestive of grade 3. Going towards the results, in control group, 47 eyes show there is no memoban gland dropouts, which OSDR grading was correlated well with the memoban gland dropouts and memoban gland dysfunction. Here, as the OSDR score increases, the memoban gland dysfunction is also increases and memoban gland dropouts too. Memoban gland dysfunction scoring was significantly positively correlated with OSDI score. We also compared the tear breakup time with the memoban gland dysfunction and mammography. As in normal, we found that it is within the normal range. As the memoban gland dropouts increases, the TBUT decreases. So going towards the discussion, it's a novel non-invasive instrument. It provides non-contact imaging of memoban gland structure. Previous clinical studies have reported the prevalence of memoban gland dysfunction to be higher in elderly individuals. But in our study, the prevalence of memoban gland dysfunction is seen higher in middle-aged population. The mean subjective memoban gland dropout scoring in the memoban gland dysfunction group was higher than the normal individuals, indicating greatest gland dropout, which is similar to studies done by Shruti and Nivasan et al. The symptom score assessed by OSDI correlated well with memoban gland dysfunction, which is in agreement with the studies done by Put et al. Our study also found that decrease in TBUT also correlated well with the severity of memoban gland grading. Limitations: it's a small study, contact mammography was not compared, and subjective error of interpretation of grading can occur. To conclude, it's non-invasive, non-contact, provides examination of both leads thoroughly with minimum discomfort, aids in extending the knowledge of memoban gland morphology, anatomical changes involving memoban gland dysfunction, and it helps to contribute in the better management of memoban gland dysfunction. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All the patient hearing to the students speaking.
Thank you very much. We come to an end of the session. I thank all the participants, audience, and all my co-chairs on the guys. Thank you.
Dr. Shishir is in place of Dr. Amrita, who is right now conducting instruction course at the same time in another course, and we have Dr. Shahana, the convener of the session, and I'm Dr. Rima, the moderating the session. So I welcome all of you, and I wish all the best to all the speakers. So we hope they respect the limit. And I hope the minimum requirements are the time restriction, the conflict of interest, the presentation, the other guidance I'm sure they are not familiar with. So can you start? And only the ratified members will be able to speak for the award. So please disclose if something is not ratified. Yeah, so it's clear to the judges if we're not a ratified member. And I hope all the presenting authors are here. So we invite the first speaker. How can we judge him? It's difficult. Dr. Jyoti Viswas from Shankar Nethralaya. We'll be talking on PCR or intraocular fluid for entity various types of choroiditis in left eye center.
Good morning. I'm talking on polymerase reaction of intraocular fluid for mycobacterium tuberculosis in various types of choroiditis in referral eye center in India. There is no financial interest. The presumed tubercular choroiditis can be sublinguous like choroiditis or multifocal or amphigenous choroiditis. The choroidal lesions with systemic tuberculosis is more proven, like subretinal abscess or choroidal tuberculoma. Most common etiology of choroiditis has been found with tuberculosis in India and has been demonstrated by Dr. Amatutta and group. Diagnosis of tuberculosis uveitis is usually presumptive. PCR has shown to be sensitive and specific in the detection of microvector tuberculosis in different clinical specimens, including intraocular fluids and tissue specimens. We published an article in 2002 in Ocular Immunology and Inflammation which set out for this study. We did a recorded tuberculosis in disseminated tuberculosis diagnosed with polymerase chain reaction of aqueous tumors. The patient had miliary tuberculosis of the lung, cervical lymphadenopathy, and abdominal tuberculosis. PCR showed microvector tuberculosis. And this was the fundus picture of the patient, tubercular lesion, and as well as a subretinal abscess. The aim of the study is to role of polymerase chain reaction of microvector tuberculosis in patients of choroiditis with different clinical manifestations. It's a retrospective analysis of patients with suspicious and proven tubercular choroiditis who underwent nested PCR for microvector tuberculosis using IS6110 and NTP64 primers from aqueous or vitreous aspirate or real-time PCR was carried out. Controlled 27 cases of anterior chamber aspirate of patients without uveitis undergoing cathode emulsification were subjected to real-time PCR also. Group A include the serpiginous choroiditis, amphigenous choroiditis, and multiple choroiditis. Group B, subretinal abscess, choroidal tuberculoma, and miliary tuberculosis of the choroid. Positive results of the PCR for MTB within the group and within the two groups are statistically analyzed using chi-square case. Clinically suspected tubercular choroiditis comprises of serpiginous choroiditis 14 cases, amphigenous choroiditis 3 cases, multiple choroiditis 11 cases. Associated with systemic TB, that is the group B, is subretinal abscess 8 cases, choroidal tuberculoma 2 cases, miliary tuberculosis choroid 1 case. And this is the PCR machine which was used, and this is the jail documentation system which was used. And the primary use for the microvector tuberculosis was NTP64 gene and IS6110 region. And the real-time PCR machine is loaded in the picture. This study included 40 patients, 25 males and 15 females with mean age of 34.60, range is 40 to 62 years. 12 patients, out of 29 patients in group A, there's a 41.37% and 81.881% out of 11 individuals who were positive for PCR for MTB. The difference was between the two groups was statistically significant. All PCR positive patients were successfully treated with antilocal treatment of 9 months or more and a course of oral steroid resulting in complete resolution of lesion. Group A presented tuberculosis, serpiginous choroiditis 40% was positive, amphigenous choroiditis 30.4% positive, multiple choroiditis 45.4% was positive, and total 41.3% was positive in group A. And this is an example of group A and amphigenous choroiditis, and this patient had a little bit of anterior chamber reaction, and we did an anterior chamber tap and nested PCR from nested tap showed microvector tuberculosis 64 genome was positive. And this was published in Ocular Immunology and Inflammation. And this is a 42-year-old Asian Indian male, Asian OD 612, and there's a serpiginous choroiditis. And there was a little anterior chamber reaction, so we did the aqueous tap, and aqueous tap was positive for NTP64 gene, but IS611 gene was negative. And this is a very interesting case, 34-year-old male conjugal TB gold test positive. Patient insisted that he should have a definitive diagnosis. We did a real-time PCR, and real-time PCR showed from the anterior chamber aspirate 14,781 copies. And was put on 4-drug HP and oral prednisone. The lesion was resolved with the treatment, and then we did that PCR for the after 1 month, real-time PCR was negative, and we showed that the real-time PCR negative. And these are the control patients of anterior chamber aspirate of patients without uveitis undergoing circumvention situations were subjected to real-time PCR, all are negative for MTB. And you can see group 2, the type of choroiditis is subretinal abscess, 87.5% positive, choroidal tuberculoma 50% positive, miliary tuberculosis choroidal 100% positive. This is a 14-year-old girl having illness of vision for 1 week, and then we saw the final aspiration last week, as well as the blood was positive for microvector tuberculosis genome. And this what has happened to the patient does a complete resolution of the lesion with antibiotic treatment. And this is a patient with subretinal mass in the periphery, and these patients have also got serous tuberculosis and abdominal tuberculosis, PCR for microbial tuberculosis, the I611 and APB64 are positive. 6 months of the activity treatment, there is a complete resolution of the lesion. And the lesions of this brain are also resolved. And this is the case of miliary tuberculosis of tuberculoma on the thorax, and this lesions of course miliary tuberculoma on the lung, and the PCR was positive for I6110 and APB64. And these are the weakest aspects of illness of lesions of 20 days on, and then there is a constant TB gold as positive, weakest aspect was positive for APB64. In summary, 41.3% of anti-HIV presumed tuberculosis and subretinal abscess or quadrant tuberculoma, 81.8% was positive. Depends on statistical significance. Conclusion: aqueous aspirate for the PCR for NCP, though the aggressively productive in both the groups of choroidal, but is more significant in patients presenting with choroidal abscess and quadrant tuberculosis, which are seen in systemic tuberculosis. VTS aspirate showed more possibility for PCR for NTP than aqueous aspirate. Thank you very much.
I always with the great presentation of Professor Vishwas. I would like to ask one question, sir. Your presentation is more focused on the choroiditis and dorsal uveitis, and in this study you have done taken sample from 2 cases of this, all cases. Do you have any rationale for that?
The aqueous aspirate is more easily available and more easily possible, and is less invasive. And many of the patients on the VTS aspirate is often difficult, and aqueous aspirate was often positive, and then we did not go to the VTS. When you found aqueous as negative, then you go for the VTS. And then the patient should also agree with that one, and it was an invasive procedure. It has got its own risk and cost.
Any question from the audience, please?
Sir, if a patient has got systemic tuberculosis, no ocular involvement, will there be any change in aqueous?
That's a very good question. We have not done that patients have systemic tuberculosis without any ocular involvement. And I feel that if the blood ocular barrier is not broken, there will be aqueous PCR possibility will not be there.
So we invite the second speaker, Dr. Sanjoy Chaudhary, will be talking on secondary glaucoma and uveitis. Can incidence be reduced?
Good morning to all. My topic is secondary glaucoma in uveitis. Can incidence be reduced? I have no financial interest. Uveitis is the third leading cause of preventable blindness. Glaucoma in uveitis is one of the most serious complications, but most overlooked reason for visual loss. Patients with uveitis have an increased risk of developing glaucoma, not only because of uveitis, but also as a side effect of use of corticosteroid, which is the mainstay of treatment. The association between uveitis and glaucoma was first reported by Joseph Bier and further classified by different scientists. My aim was to evaluate the prevalence of secondary glaucoma in uveitis with different treatment regimens. A randomized prospective hospital-based study was conducted at Bokhara General Hospital, a super specialty 910-bedded hospital catering a population of more than 2 million. All the cases of uveitis coming to our hospital during 2007 and 2012 were included in this study. 3 categories of patients were enrolled: patients coming directly with uveitis, chronic cases on follow-up, cross-referrals from other departments like orthopedics, pediatrics, so on. This group also includes patients referred from GPs and general ophthalmologists practicing outside. Thus, cohorts fairly represent total cases of uveitis in the district population. Besides standard eye examination, baseline IOP, field of inner head, photographs were recorded. 3 groups were randomized: topical steroid only, systemic steroid and topical steroid, topical synthetic steroid, cycloplegic along with periorbital triamcinolone. Secondary glaucoma is diagnosed when IOP is more than 22 mm of mercury or 4 mm above the baseline. Corneal sensation was also tested, as this is a leprosy endemic area and prevalence of herpetic eye disease is high. Fundus photograph was taken in all cases where people can be dilated. Descriptive statistics were used to determine patient characteristics and occurrence of events such as need for IOP surgical. Total 1,254 cases of uveitis were registered during last 5 years, with a prevalence of 63 per lakh population. Mean incidence was 200 per 20 lakh per year. 50 cases every year developed chronic uveitis. Male predominance was noticed, and males were exclusively seen with comorbid ankylosing spondylitis. As such, male-female ratio was 2:1. Mean age was 32.6. 30% cases are of juvenile category. These are the results. We found 82 secondary glaucoma. Anti-glaucoma therapy required in all the cases. Prolonged anti-glaucoma required in 22 cases. First group, that is topical steroid, had 65 cases, and other two groups had 12 and 5 respectively. First group and third group had statistically significant difference. This is the detailed results. More than 50% cases were anterior variety. So, prevalence is found 6% in this study. It was less compared to US data. This is probably because our data includes cases over 5 years only. Most studies of uveitic glaucoma equally distributed among the anterior and posterior uveitis, but our 70% of our uveitis glaucoma in our study is associated with anterior uveitis, which is also the case in single center study in US. This can be explained by associated cases of ankylosing spondylitis, herpetic eye disease, juvenile arthritis. Younger age predisposes more to glaucoma. There are different proposed discussion for development of glaucoma. I will not go into the details. The risk factors of being steroid responder are primary open-angle glaucoma, family history of glaucoma, rheumatoid arthritis, extremes of ages, and diabetes. Children are especially susceptible to IOP increase secondary to steroids. Corticosteroids have been reported to cause biochemical and morphological changes in trabecular meshwork, increasing resistance to aqueous outflow. So I will conclude my study with my result. 1 in 167 population has uveitis in Bokaro district. 1 in 8 uveitic patients have secondary glaucoma, which were more predominant patients with comorbidity who are not atropinized from the beginning. This complication is the cause of visual loss in 1 out of 80 uveitis patients and can be prevented in most instances. These are my references. Thank you very much for patient care.
I have one question for you.
Sir.
You have kept 22 mmHg as your cutoff.
Yes, sir.
This secondary glaucoma.
Or 4 minutes.
Yes. Taken CCT into account. Say if a patient of 600 micron of central corner can have 26 mmHg as normal eye.
Yes.
You are telling fundus photograph, not lab. Not the lab.
Sir.
So the patients who are leveling glaucoma may not have glaucoma at all.
Sir, later on it proved to be, unfortunately we don't have a CCT at our place to assess the corneal thickness. We presumed with this IOP change only that they are glaucomatous, and our result will ultimately succumb to blindness due to optic atrophy. That justifies my diagnosis as secondary glaucoma. Those who were on long-term follow-up, they subsequently developed optic atrophy when the media became clear, but the optic nerve head was. This is the limitation of my study. Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Nitin from AIOC. I'll be presenting on measurement level of necrosis with very
was to report a case series of vaginas with varied presentation. The study design comprised of four cases of different presentations of vaginas. The methodology, patients were subjected to complete ocular examination, which included visual acuity, intraocular pressure estimation, slit lamp, direct fundus examination, and complete systemic examination by physician with appropriate lab investigations. First case, a 35-year-old female on treatment for rheumatoid arthritis with methotrexate for past 6 months presented with necrotizing anterior scleritis in the right eye. On examination, her best guided visual acuity was 618 in the right eye with 68 in the left eye, near vision being N6. Anterior segment in the right eye showed conjunctival congestion and thin sclera with a necrotic membrane superior nasal to the cornea with sloughing and radial show. The CT scan, it showed maxillary sinusitis. It showed maxillary sinusitis on the right side. This is a coronal view. In the axial view, we can see maxillary sinusitis on the right side with involvement of the ethmoidal sinus and early involvement of the left ethmoidal sinus. CT scan was done on the lungs, which showed in the apex in the right lobe there was non-specific consolidated nodule with central necrosis. And as we go lower down, there were two bilateral non-specific nodules with thick wall cavities were noted. Screening was done, and on staining with 10% potassium hydroxide and with calcium, septate hydrate was found. Doing the lactobacillus cotton blue mount, we found a quality of 4 with biserate margins, and on doing culture, we found creamy velvety growth of aspergillus fluvis. So grams and gypsum staining was negative, and Sianka was positive in this case. A laryngoscopy was done, and subglottic nodules mass was found, and the biopsy confirmed the diagnosis. In view of nasal septal perforation, necrotizing scleritis, laryngeal and lung lesions, a diagnosis of vaginas was made, and the patient underwent squamous patch grafting with amniotic membrane, and the outcome was satisfactory. The second case, a 66-year-old female known diabetic treated surgically for maxillary sinusitis, again aspergillus was positive, presented with scleritis and peripheral ulcerative keratitis in the left eye. The visual acuity was counted within the 3 meters in both eyes. On scleroscoping, again grams and gypsum was negative, and the culture was positive for fungal filaments. In both these cases, management, oral and topical antifungal were given medically, and surgically squamous patch graft was done, with the outcome being good. In case 3, we have a 29-year-old male with pain and swelling in the left eye. He was treated with no case of spondyloarthropathy with septal perforation and maxillary sinusitis. He was diagnosed to have a left-sided burst lacrimal abscess with necrotic skin lesions seen post-sinus surgery, and investigations revealed Sianka to be positive. Biopsy of the burst abscess, it showed chronic necrotizing inflammatory lesions with leukocytoplastic vasculitis. In this picture here, we can see this is an irregular mass with central area of necrotic debris comprising of degenerating neutrophils, and the surrounding is characteristic granulomatous inflammation comprising of macrophages and multinucleated giant cells. The patient was started on methotrexate and he responded well to treatment. In case 4, we had a 42-year-old male who presented to us with redness and pain in the left eye, indicating a relapse of dacrogonitis associated with headaches, recurrent fevers, and generalized weakness, with history of hemoptysis, chest pain, and recent onset. The examination, his best guided visual acuity in the right eye was 612 and left eye was 660. The vision decreased to right, a PL positive in the right eye and negative in the left eye, with restrictive extraocular movements and mild proptosis in the left eye. So, on anterior segment examination, dilated episcleral presence with thin down sclera was noted. Cornea showed 360-degree superficial and deep vascularization with the anterior chamber being white, and the pupillary reaction was sluggish in the right eye with RAPD in the left eye. The posterior segment at the retina was attached with a mild hyperemia. The left eye was more hyperemic than the right eye. CT orbits, it showed a hypertense lesions involving both the intra and extracorneal compartments, enclosing the extraocular muscles, the lateral gland, and the optic nerve. So the patient was started on cyclophosphamide with steroids, and the outcome was the patient's vision acuity improved to 680 in the right eye with RAPD in the left eye. So the result is that in our patients, diagnosis of vaginas was made with the help of systemic features and a positive Sianka. First 2 cases, scleroscopy were positive with fungal filaments and potassium hydroxide staining, and the biopsy from the burst abscess revealed vasculitic necrosis in the 3rd case. The 4th case, CT scan showed bilateral orbital involvement enclosing the extraocular muscles, lacrimal gland, and the optic nerve. So the conclusion is that vaginas can present with varied ocular presentations. One must also be wary of infective association and immune disorders. Though necrotizing scleritis is the commonest ocular presentation in vaginas, it can involve the nasolacrimal system presenting as a burst lacrimal abscess and orbital tissues, leading to visual loss and deformity. Hence, recognition of these unusual ophthalmic features, coupled with prompt investigations, enables early diagnosis and treatment. Thank you.
So, you all were the primary people to diagnose vaginas, or were they diagnosed elsewhere?
Now, these patients presented to us with first ocular involvement, and later on, subsequently, when we carried out investigations, the systemic involvement was diagnosed.
So, you all diagnosed it?
Yes, ma'am.
And you get cases where they've already been diagnosed and then?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any explanation for why they have fungal involvement in the first case?
presented to us with ocular involvement, and then as we conducted the test, then there was like superadded infection, so it's like an atypical presentation.
Any particular reason for fungal super?
So most probably because of the involvement of the maxillary sinus, so it could be secondary to that.
Yeah, just for the audience, I have had a similar experience. Patients of diagnosed granulomatosis presenting with corneal ulcer which are fungal. And the reason is very simple. Fungus lives on dead or dying necrotic material. And this is necrotizing scleritis. So there's a lot of dead debris there and the fungus lives happily on it. You treat it with immunosuppressants and steroids. And sometimes it can be difficult to be prescribing these drugs in a patient with proven fungal infection. But that's the only way it treats the disease.
Dr. Amitabh.
I had the same query as Dr. Shishir.
These patients who have superadded fungal infection need to be treated on long-term antifungal. They need to be treated with long-term antifungals along with steroids. We cannot use just steroids alone, but along with antifungals.
Now I invite the fourth paper. Analysis of the polymerase chain reaction results in presumed ocular tuberculosis. With treatment response.
Yes, you mentioned
The chief and presenting author is Dr. Sahil Bhandari.
Good afternoon, everyone. I will be presenting on analysis of polymerase chain reaction results in presumed ocular tuberculosis with treatment response. No financial disclosure. Tuberculosis is a global burden with variable pulmonary and extrapulmonary presentations. One among the extrapulmonary is ocular tuberculosis, with an estimated ocular morbidity of 1.39%. The diagnosis depends on multiple clinical criteria, which have been very well defined earlier, and an off laboratory confirmation. One important fact is a positive therapeutic trial, which can act as a supportive evidence. For diagnostic tests, there are multiple diagnostic tests available. The most commonly employed being is a Mantoux test and then interferon gamma release assay. The recent being is polymerase chain reaction. Imaging act as a substitute and culture is a gold standard of any intraocular fluid. The polymerase chain reaction for intraocular fluids, there's a overall sensitivity is 77% and specificity is 100%. With the common antigen being used is IS6110 and MPV64, along with protein being used rarely. Now, what dilemma do we have when we see a case of, when we see an ocular tuberculosis? First is obviously clinical diagnosis of a presumed ocular tuberculosis. It depends on multiple criteria. The misdiagnosis test to be applied. Will the result of diagnostic test affect the treatment instituted? And finally, when we are doing a test, the results of that test and the clinical decision making, because a very important fact is in presumed ocular tuberculosis, it itself is a clinical diagnosis. So we try to answer the last one and try to correlate results of PCR to treatment outcome. It was a retrospective analysis of 15 cases, all underwent PCR uniplex and nested with the antigen being IS6110 and MPV64. ATD trial which was given on the basis of ocular science. Not all were given ATD trial. And correlation was made between ATD trial results and the PCR that they were doing in parallel. So ATD trial was defined is obviously defined as 2 months of intensive phase and minimum of 7 months of continuation phase with oral corticosteroids and anti-inflammatory doses. 2 months minimum period is required to say that whether ATD response is, we took it as a 2 months to be negative. Outcome parameters mainly two. The first most important being the inflammatory parameters, improvement in inflammatory parameters, plus minus improvement in vision. Now coming up to results, 15 cases were included, 2 were lost to follow-up. Male is to female ratio was 2:1. Mean age was 33.4 years. Aqueous aspirate was done in 3 cases and vitreous was taken in 12. The distribution of diagnosis was mainly type of cases was panuveitis being the prominent one, followed by multifocal choroidititis and posterior uveitis. Out of 15 cases, 5 were PCR positive, 10 were negative for tuberculosis. In the PCR positive group, 4 cases which were proper followed up, all were given ATT and they showed improvement. In the PCR negative group, 6 were given ATT and 4 showed improvement. The 2 cases that didn't show improvement, one was choroidititis and one was diagnosed with panuveitis. They showed improvement when we increased the dosage of steroids and withdrawn ATT. In the ATT deferred group, again 2 cases showed improvement. One was diagnosed to have endogenous endophthalmitis and improved with the intravitreal steroids, and choroidal granuloma improved with oral steroids. The patient who didn't show show improvement even in the ATT deferred group. Actually, that patient was diagnosed with APMPP and both the eyes, and we took the worst eye PCR that didn't show any improvement. So finally, in results, both the PCR positive and negative group, 4 patients in each group responded to ATT trial, so we can take them as a diagnosis as a presumed ocular tuberculosis. So try to correlate it in the form of proxy indicators. Obviously, it's not a specific case control study. So sensitivity came out to be 50%, specificity 100%, PPV being 100%, and 33.3% is negative predictive value. This was on the basis of 2x2 contingency table, comparing the ATT trial outcome only, those patients who were given ATT, and PCR results in those patients. So coming up to discussion, we compare our study with a previous study in which actually the specificity and sensitivity has been studied in a detailed manner regarding the PCR. Our was a retrospective analysis with the uniplex and nested PCR being used, and the sensitivity and PPV was similar to the Kusum et al. Study, but sensitivity and negative predictive value was on a lower side. So as per our study, a low sensitivity makes the PCR a less effective screening test, but this high specificity can help us when we have a high clinical suspicion, and if the PCR comes out to be negative, it will be of great help. Limitation, it was a retrospective analysis with no controls, small sample size, and possibility of laboratory contamination, variable follow-up. On concluding, still clinical, when we take into a clinical standpoint, the ATT trial stands out to be an effective and simple way of confirming the diagnosis of presumed ocular tuberculosis. These are my references.
Any questions?
Any specific reason for giving a lower dose of oral steroid?
So along with ATTs, like we need to give only anti-inflammatory dose to control the amount of inflammation. We don't give specifically for any treatment as such of tubercular recurrence by giving along with ATT.
No, but most of the cases of uveitis are actually hypersensitivity reactions. They may not be direct infections.
Yes.
So in case you're putting them already on ATT, so isn't it a good option to give a full throttle oral steroid therapy along with ATT?
That full dose can act as an immune suppressor rather than only an anti-inflammatory. If we give a low dose that is of 0.5 milligram, it will help us in reducing the inflammation. In case of presumed ocular tuberculosis, when we give treatment, we first targeted the infective cause, that is the ATT, through the ATT. And the secondary thing, what we are aiming with the oral corticosteroid is to reduce the inflammation rather than the treatment, direct treatment as such. So that's why we give a slightly low. If the patient doesn't respond to ATT, then obviously we have to increase the dose of steroids and withdraw the ATT in the due course. Ma'am, improvement on the basis of inflammatory parameters, like when we check with the anti-chamber inflammation or vitreous inflammation, or if it is multifocal choroiditis, the appearance, clinical appearance.
Duration is too short a period to judge the response of such a prolonged therapy of ATT, because that information would be anyway taken care by the steroids. So to actually look for the response of ATT, you need to have a much longer follow-up. I would say minimum of 6 months. It differs in different studies, but I think 2 months is too short. So I invite the next speaker, Dr. Manish G. He'll be talking about innovative data of choroidal thickness using EDI in Indian population.
Good morning, everybody. My paper is on normal choroidal thickness in healthy Indian population. We have no financial interest in any of the instruments. Choroid plays an important role in the pathophysiology of central serous choroiditinopathy, ARMD, PCV, etc. And more diseases, and choroid is implicated in more and more diseases. It is thickened in many conditions, including inflammatory conditions, and accurate in vivo measurement of choroidal thickness has become an essential step in monitoring the disease related to the choroid. It is difficult to image the full thickness of choroid because of the pigments in the retinal pigment epithelium and scattering properties of blood and blood vessels. And previously we used to use ultrasound B-scan with 10 MHz probes, but this provides very poor axial and lateral resolution. So in fact the resolution is only 150 microns or more. We are talking about 1 microns in newer OCT. So this is not an accurate method. So Straight et al. Has measured choroidal thickness and Indian normative choroidal thickness data is not available in literature. The objective of our study was to study the normal choroidal thickness in healthy Indian population using enhanced depth imaging (OCT). It was a prospective, non-interventional study. Healthy individuals with best corrected visual acuity of 6/6 M6 with a refractive of less than 3 diopters were included in the study. Each individual underwent a complete ophthalmic evaluation, and they were all examined using the EDA protocols of spectralis Heidelberg OCT, and EDA image was averaged for 100 scans using automatic averaging and eye tracking system. This is the principle of EDA. In the left side photograph, the maximum sensitivity in the posterior vitreous, where the clear picture of retina is obtained, but choroid is not obtained. In the second one, it is flipped. The OCT instrument is pushed closer to the eye in order to invert the image, and the peak sensitivity curve is moved to the inner sclera. This is the basic principle of enhanced depth imaging. Choroidal thickness was measured manually by calipers in Heidelberg software in the same time of the day, and it was first measured at the subfoveal region and then in the temporal, inferior, superior nasal fovea in every 500 microns up to 2 mm from the subfoveal point. So this was the measurement, central area, and then every 500 microns. The choroid was measured from the outer portion of hyperreflective line corresponding to the retinal pigment epithelium to the inner surface of sclera. That is shown in the picture. It was done on the same time because we want to rule out the bias due to diagonal variation. It was measured by 2 retina specialists. If the values were differing by more than 20%, it was repeated by a third examiner to reduce the inter-observer variability. 123 ISO 123 patients were examined. Average age was 44.76, males 49, females 74, and the mean subfoveal choroidal thickness was 265 plus or minus 43 microns among all individuals. There was no difference in males and females regarding the mean choroidal thickness. Comparing the age group, there was definite thinning of choroid with age. You can see that 21 to 30 years, 28 patients individuals were measured. It was the average was 307. By more than 71, it was 178. So there is a gradual reduction in the mean subfoveal choroidal thickness with age. So this graph shows the choroidal thickness has a strong negative correlation with age. The variability of mean difference in choroidal thickness in various locations according to the age group shows that there is significant decrease in choroidal thickness at subfoveal region compared to temporal, superior, inferior nasal with age. The last line, the graph last line is the subfoveal region. That shows maximum reduction in the with age. In the other studies also have shown this negative correlation with age. Our mean choroidal central subfoveal choroidal thickness is less than that is found in the Caucasian population by Spade et al. The mean choroidal thickness in our study is highest at the subfoveal region, and in our study we found that subfoveal choroidal thickness decreased significantly more than the other regions with age, and this has a clinical significance. This left side photograph is inflammatory condition, APM-BP, where there is a reduction in the choroidal thickness with steroids. You can see the choroidal thickness has reduced significantly. The right one is a central serous chorioretinopathy, where the choroidal thickness has reduced after resolution of CSF. In conclusion, current study gives a normative data of choroidal thickness in Indian population, which enables us to monitor pathological aspects of choroid in various diseases. EDA imaging offers a promising method to image the choroid, and mean subfoveal choroidal thickness in Indian population is 265 plus or minus 44 microns, which is less than that of Caucasian population. Thank you for the kind attention.
Dr. Mahesh, I have one question for you. When we say Indian population, see the medical science cannot be guided by the flag of one nation. See the eyes from South, the Dravidian population, the pigments, the eyes are very different from the ones of the Northeast. People from Northeast coming from Bangladesh. Similarly, the people coming from Jammu Kashmir and Punjab, they have the eyes very close to the Central Asian. So what do you mean by this Indian population? This has always confused me. See, HSA result I have. So what do you mean? Have you defined any subgroups of like that? How is Central so involved?
I can probably say South Indian population. Because
see, let us come to the basic fact. India is a very vast country, and whatever you are saying, you are creating more confidence than
South Indian population, I will say.
Why did you just take
Because there is the thinning of choroid with high myopia, which is already documented in different studies. We don't want a bias that is by plus or minus small refractive only we included. Larger refractive is excluded.
So -3 cutoff is like.
No, it is done in the previous studies by other people, and there has been reports that high myopia, 416, there is definite choroidal thinning. So we don't want a bias in this study. So we took only up to -3.
In what percent of patients, could, in spite of a clear media, could you not reach the posterior part of the choroid good enough to measure it?
In this study, we could get in all the people.
All patients.
Because there are reports by some studies where they have used the serous OCT. There are 74% of people only they got visualization of this sclera choroidal junction. But that was by another machine, and this we could get in all cases.
Now I'd like to invite the paper called Spectral Domain OCT Findings in Active and Healed Toxoplasma Poliorectal Lesions. The chief and presenting author is Dr. Saurabh Luthra.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chairperson, dear colleagues. I'll be speaking on SDOT OCT findings in active and healed toxoplasma poliorectal lesions. No financial disclosure. So, to evaluate the role of spectral domain OCT in the diagnosis, management, follow-up, and prognostication of toxoplasma retinochoroiditis, 15 eyes of 8 consecutive patients with active and healed toxoplasma retinochoroiditis lesions were studied. The detailed ophthalmic examination, including indirect ophthalmoscopy, retinal biomicroscopy, SFA, and SDOCT were done. Cases were labeled as toxoplasma after positive ELISA. Patients were treated with oral biomicroprim and sulfonylurea, steroid, and topical NSAIDs. The SDOCT scans were directed to the macula and to the area of lesions observed during clinical examination. So these were the findings that in active lesions there was thickening of the posterior highlight over the overlying lesions in 12 out of 15 eyes. There were hyperreflective spherical deposits within the vitreoretinal interface in 11 out of 15 eyes. There was hyperreflectivity of the retinal layers with disorganization and thickening in 14 out of 15 eyes. There was presence of SRF at the center of macula in 2 of 15 eyes. In active lesions, again, we saw acoustic shadowing and thickening of the underlying RP choroidal layers in 13 of 15 eyes. The RP group membrane reflective complex was totally increased or contained with focal splits in 7 out of 15 eyes and an ERMO seen in 8 out of 15 eyes. During follow-up, these lesions, there was a progressive decrease in size of the hyperreflective spherical deposits, collapse onto the retinal surface and disappearance, disorganization and thinning of the retinal layers, and atrophy of the RP and normalization of the choroidal thickness with hyperreflectivity were observed. So these are some of the cases. This is the first case in which the vision did not improve, unfortunately, because of scarring, and you can see here that this is the lesion, and pre-treatment there is there's a kind of an epiretinal membrane with some edema, and this flattened out the treatment, but because of the scarring, the vision didn't improve. This is the second case with a juxtafoveal toxo lesion, which you can see here, and there was a lot of subretinal fluid. In all these cases, you see pre-treatment that there were these spherical deposits within the vitreous cavity, which kind of were not seen post-treatment. So this patient had a good outcome because the lesion totally flattened out and the macula normalized. This was the third case in which the lesion was located near the supratemporal arcade with a lot of inflammation and swelling of the retina surrounding it, and there was a thickening of the posterior hyaloid with attachment to the area of the toxo lesion. And you can see that this is very characteristic. We find that this remains attached even post-treatment, although the inflammation and the retinal thickness is normalized. This was another case of a lesion near the supratemporal arcade with 618 parts vision. So the OCT scans here are through the lesion, whereas down here they are through the macula. So you can see that in the area of the lesion there are these hyperreflective deposits within the vitreous cavity, and there's the thickening of the posterior hyaloid, the thickening of the retina, and some spaces, microcystoid spaces within the retina. And at the macula there is gross subretinal fluid. That's why the vision of 618 parts. But post-treatment, this flattened out with this thickened hyaloid persisting, and the macula normalized, so the vision improved to 6 parts. This was a case of a kind of you can say a recurrence adjacent to an old toxo scar, and you can see that the lesion is here located just supranasal to the scar, and it kind of pigmented and became scarred down with treatment, and 2 months post-treatment the vision improved marginally because of this old toxo scar. And this is the last example to show that this case was misdiagnosed elsewhere, treated with systemic steroids alone, had worsened, and vision had gone down to less than 660. And also finally we did not get a very good outcome because in this case he had already been treated for almost 1.5 months with systemic steroids alone and misdiagnosed as tuberculosis, and you can see although the lesion kind of quietened down, but there is disorganization of the retina with this hyporeflective space, and the vision didn't improve beyond 636. So in our study we found that thickening of the posterior hyaloid overlying the lesion was the commonest, and this compares well with the other series, and hyperreflectivity of the retinal layers with disorganization and thickening was also the most common finding in our study. So AIOC is a very useful non-invasive tool that helps in characterizing the complex toxo-retinochoroidal lesions, correlating with their clinical picture, studying their evolution, and using this information to prognosticate the visual outcome. So these are the references. Thank you.
Any questions from the audience, please?
Did you have any patient with very early toxo lesion?
Yeah, I mean, one of the lesions in which I showed, which was just a juxtafoveal lesion, it was very acute. So that responded well, and although it was juxtafoveal, but we were able to achieve 6/6 vision post-treatment. So it could be caught that very, I mean, because it was just juxtafoveal, patient presented immediately, and we got a good outcome there.
And where was the pathology was located in that, in terms of the layers in the OCT?
So it was in the retina.
That is what the OCT is, very early lesion.
Correct.
For all the audience as well, that it's a very early lesion. It's a retinitis to start with, and then
Yes.
it becomes a So there OCT is really helpful. And the choroid is normal, and the inner retinal layers are involved.
So we prefer to call it
diagnosis.
Correct. And you prefer to call it a retinochoroiditis now rather than a chorioretinitis.
Did you treat any patients with intravitreal stenosis?
No, that's a good question, and we are continuing this study, and next we are going to treat them with intravitreal clindamycin because that's another modality which is very popular nowadays.
Now I invite the next paper.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. The changing pattern of uveitis in a tertiary institute of Northeast India. The chief and presenting author is Dr. Vikramjit Das.
Good afternoon, everybody. Respected chairperson and ladies and gentlemen. Well, I'll be speaking on the topic, the changing pattern of uveitis in tertiary institute of Northeast India. I have no financial and commercial interest in this presentation. Well, the changing pattern of any disease in a subset of population is an important health indicator. In uveitis study literature, there were a number of studies that showed the changing patterns of uveitis by same author or different author in the study pattern. The aim of the study is to know the changing pattern of uveitis in the referral institute of Northeast India. Now, this is a retrospective hospital-based study. All patients were presented to UVA clinic at the Tertiary Ophthalmic Care Center in 2012, and these findings were compared with similar study done by the author in 2005, and this was published in Indian Journal of Ophthalmology in 2009. Our material mostly included outpatient uveitis cases. The patients were classified according to current International Uveitis Study Group (IUAG) classification based on localization of intraocular inflammation. Ocular findings were analyzed in each case on external examination, slit lamp by microscopy, explanation sonometry, and indirect ophthalmoscopy with clear vibration in full dilatation where it is required. And ancillary and laboratory investigation were carried out in each case in a tailored approach. The exclusion criteria included retinal vasculitis and endophthalmitis. Total cases seen in 2012 was 343, were male was 209, female 134. Anterior uveitis was seen in 140 cases, intermediate uveitis 81 cases, posterior uveitis 56 cases, and peri uveitis 64 cases. In anterior uveitis, HLA between associated uveitis was seen in 41.5%, and there was idiopathic anterior uveitis in 25.91%. Now, this is the number of cases in 2012, 343, and in 2005, 308. And anterior uveitis present in 2012 was 41.39, whereas in 2005 it was at 47%. Intermediate uveitis was 23.61, and in 2005 it's 12.98%. And posterior uveitis 16.32 in 2012 and 29.87 in 2005, and pen uveitis 18% in 12 and 5 it was 10.6%. Now, in etiology of anterior entry uveitis, the idiopathic cases, the HLA-B20 associated uveitis, traumatic uveitis, iron reduced uveitis, Fuchs heterotomic uveitis, herpetic entry uveitis, leprosy in some index cases, parasitic uveitis, and some miscellaneous group. Idiopathic group 25.9% in 2012, whereas in 2005 around 45.5 was person. HLA-B27 41.54% in 2012, whereas it was 23% in 2005. Fuchs heterotomic hydrocyclines was 30.38 in 2012, whereas in 2005 it was 4.82%. Herpetic entry uveitis was 10.75, whereas it was 0.68% in 2005. In intermediate uveitis, the parsplanitis in 2012 was 50.61%, whereas in 2005 it was 77.5%. Tuberculosis uveitis is 20.98 in 2012, whereas 2005 is 10%. Sarcoid was 23.24 in 12, and in 2005 it was 12.5%. In posterior uveitis, the etiology of TB, toxoplasmosis, uveitic choroiditis, serpiginous choroiditis, APMD, multifocal choroiditis, CMV-retinitis, acute retinal necrosis, syphilis, when tuberculosis was 37.5% in 2012, whereas it's only 5.43% in 2005. Toxoplasmosis, it is a reversal, 14.28 in 2012, whereas 2005 we have seen in a year 40.21%. Now in pan-uveitis, leakage, synthetic ophthalmia, tuberculosis, sarcoid, parasitic disease, and idiopathic diagnosis, these are in different etiological scale. In leakage, it was 15.62% in 2012, whereas in 2005 it was much more, 45.13. Synthetic ophthalmia, we are seeing much more in 2012, it's 21.87, whereas 3.22 in 2005. And tuberculosis, again, there is an increase in trend from 29.68 in 2012, and no data was available in 2005. Now, if we summarize HLA-B27, there is an increase in the number, there is a Fuchs uveitis, marginal increase, idiopathic has dropped, probably diagnosis accuracy with the 7 years increase with all the investigative modalities, and herpetic entry uveitis is increasing trend. What is important for the tuberculosis-related uveitis? It's very, very important that entry uveitis was 2% in 2012 male in 2005. Intermediate uveitis 70% in 2012, 1% in 2005. Posterior uveitis 21% in 2012, whereas 5% in 2005. Pan uveitis 19%, whereas 3% in 2005. Retinochoroiditis is a reversal trend. So uveitis is a complex intraocular inflammatory disease, a result of several etiological entities, and changing patterns are seen in studies in the same country or different regions of the country. In uveitis, we have seen HLA-B27 associated uveitis are increasing trend, and there is an upsurge in intraocular tuberculosis in present study, and this is comparable with the study from India and elsewhere. So, and infectious uveitis and herpes simplex uveitis is decreasing trend in these two studies. Parasitic uveitis is important here. The index cases, we have seen 1 cases of chalasia and thyrophilia in this entry uveitis, which is interesting pattern, but the toxoplasmosis cases dropped. In summary, there is increase in HLA-B27 and herpetic uveitis and tuberculosis uveitis. So this paper revealed the changing pattern of uveitis in the tertiary eye test center at Northeast India. This is my reference. Thank you.
Dipankar, do you really feel it is changing pattern of uveitis or changing understanding of uveitis?
Yeah, it's better to be changing understanding of the uveitis as you see.
Because your first reference is the paper on JBNY, 1995.
Yeah.
Interestingly, 50% we have reported toxoplasma in anterior and posterior. The reason is we had no proper test for tuberculosis. Now everything was IgG positive for toxoplasma, and idiopathic, instead of calling it idiopathic, we were calling it toxoplasma.
Yeah.
I think 2005 data is your own data?
Yeah, my own data.
And you had the same thing in 2005.
Yeah.
So I think PCR and the ocular fluid, the guidelines have changed everything. And any patient with granulomatous uveitis was not too negative or sarcoidosis.
Yeah.
So I think it's the changing understanding of uveitis, pattern has remained absolutely identical.
Why did you exclude retinal vasculitis?
Because see, this northeast, that is when we did a first study, there's a study with Eels disease where we have seen a lot of cases of Eels disease. In all India, there's a paper on Eels disease. But as the uveitis thing, we particularly want to separate it from, because Eels disease again, there is no vitreous cells. You see, the classical pattern of uveitis is some way, we cannot group them in this as a.
Now I think more and more we classify vasculitis as part of the uveitic entities, especially tuberculosis.
Yeah, I found it reasonable to separate it from the